Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about all of the books that I read in October. October was an extremely busy month. I think I worked for something like 20 straight days or something ridiculous like that. I don't really remember, but it was busy. I had some traveling for work. I had some dance performances that I had to help with. I got sick. I was just so busy. I was working some overtime, just a busy time to be Lena. But I was able to read 7 books in October, so that's good. And only 3 of them were actually from my physical shelf, which is kind of a bummer because I really am trying to make it a priority to read from my physical shelf. But I've been in a weird slump, so I've just been trying to read what I want to read when I want to read it. So that's why I haven't really been reading a whole lot from my shelf. But we're going to change that in November. We have quite a few books on my physical TBR that I'm trying to get out of the way. So we're going to start with my 2-star book and work all the way up to my 4-star books. So my 2-star book, Before You Knew My Name by Jacqueline Bublitz. So this was a cover buy, 100% cover buy. I saw this book and I saw the cover and I needed to have it. I don't know that I even read the synopsis. I just saw that it was a thriller. And the first part of this book is about a girl talking about what led up to her death or her supposed death. And you're following 2 girls in New York, and one of them, I guess, is dying, or you start a couple days before she dies. You kind of learn about her past and what brought her here, and I didn't like the characters. The plot didn't make sense. There was a weird, like, sub-romantic plot to it with the guy one of the girls was living with, but he was like a dog walker, and he was very strange, and I don't know. I don't know if I was not in the right headspace for this book, but they seemed like, I don't know, girls who were like freeloading in New York off of other people. And yeah, it was just, the mystery didn't make sense. I didn't care about any of the characters. This was a huge miss for me. Okay, next let's talk about my 3-star books, starting with The Girls We Sent Away by Megan Church. And this was recommended to me, well, I guess not recommended, but I learned about this because of Keisha from A Book Like You. She saw like a pitch for it, I guess, or saw it on Goodreads and sent it to me. And I did enjoy this one. I gave it 3 stars, and it's about a girl who is found in a family way in the 60s, and so she is sent to a home for unwed mothers to kind of live out her pregnancy. There's a lot of discussion on like social standing of girls in that state and kind of life after that. It's kind of like a coming of age story, and a girl trying to find her way in the world and trying to do what's best for herself and also her unborn child. And it's not as dark as it lends itself to believe in the synopsis. The synopsis talks about this home having these like dark secrets that are buried and, you know, these really treacherous rules and regulations at the home, but it really wasn't like that. It was an interesting story, and I would recommend this to people who like historical fiction and maybe want something that's not quite so dark. But overall it was okay, but I do recommend it, and I did get the e-galley from NetGalley. So hopefully it finds its audience when it's released, and hopefully people like it. And there was another Megan Church book that I found. I think it's called like The Last Carolina Girl or something. And so I am going to try that because I did like the writing style, so I would be willing to try the author again. Next we have Asylum by Madeline Rue, and these 2 and like one other I'm going to talk about I read for a vlog that I'll link down below. And I was reading like adjacent asylum books, like not necessarily books all about asylums, but like there's an asylum element to it. And even though this book is called Asylum, it's like not a whole lot about an asylum. It kind of is. It's about this old asylum that was previously a psych ward and or an asylum and is now a college. And these teens are at this college for a summer program. And so Dan and his buddies start kind of snooping around in their dorm, which is the old asylum, and finding like secrets about it. And they learn that they all have these kind of family ties to people that were in the asylum in some way, shape, or form. And then he starts being stalked by who he thinks is like the warden of the asylum. He gets notes and messages start being sent on his phone without him realizing and things like that. So he thinks he's being haunted by the ghost of the warden in this asylum. And it's pretty typical of what you'd expect from YA, you know, a little bit of teen angst, a little bit of, you know, my life is so hard. I wish I had learned more about the actual asylum itself, but the pictures in this book were really good. Like they had to have gotten these pictures from somewhere, but like these look like legitimate like asylum pictures. So that was honestly the best part of the book. I wanted to keep going because I wanted to see the next picture. And some of them get pretty like eerie and creepy, which is why I was surprised that the book didn't like really go there. And like we learned stuff about the asylum kind of, but like not really. But like I don't think the asylum was truly the purpose. I think the purpose was more them finding out what's going on. But I wanted more information about the asylum. Come on, you can't tell me that's not really cool. So yeah, so I enjoyed the pictures. It was fine for YA, but that's not really my genre, so 3 stars. Next, I read Good as Dead by Susan Walter, and this was on Kindle Unlimited. And when I was going through writing my notes, I had to go back and like refresh my memory. I've already forgotten about it. It's about a woman who, she and her daughter are living in this house that's paid for by this guy, and basically their entire life is paid for, their house, their car, their allowance, everything, by this guy who's trying to keep them quiet about an accident that happened to the father. So the father died, and in order to keep them quiet, they're getting paid off. And so you're basically following this mother and this daughter trying to hide this big secret from everybody, and meanwhile they're having everything paid for by this random guy who wants to keep them quiet. And so everything is known to other people at the beginning of the book, but then you go back and you like learn different things from different people. So like it was interesting, it was fine, it was a typical domestic thriller. But like I said, I've already forgotten about it, so I don't know that I would recommend it. Next we have The September House by Carissa Orlando, and this is another one that it was fine when I read it, but I've like already forgotten a lot of details about it. So this is also a 3-star. This is about a woman who every September her house that is haunted gets even more haunted. Blood starts dripping from the walls, more ghosts start coming around, there's like dead birds in the yard, all kinds of stuff. And her daughter is getting really worried about her, and she won't leave for whatever reason. She won't leave, she won't move out. And so her daughter comes to try and help her find her husband. Her husband has gone missing, and she doesn't know what happened to her husband. And so you're trying to figure out, did the house do something to the husband? Did he leave? Did she do something to him? And so it's kind of funny because she's trying to like hide all of these things that are wrong with the house from her daughter. But the house like really wants the daughter to know that like it's around and it's very much alive and well, and it's like tormenting people. I heard this equated to Grady Hendrix. So if you like Grady Hendrix, you might like this. I'm not a Grady Hendrix fan, so the writing style didn't really work for me. And when I went to get this at Books A Million, I found it in the horror section, not in the thriller section, which I don't really see that per se. It didn't really go there like I would expect horror to, but who am I to decide the genre of a book, right? So anyways, I think it's fine. It did have good vibes. Like if you want like the fall vibes, it had really good fall vibes, but the story, I could take or leave it. Okay, now let's get into my 4-star books. The first is Dr. Icepick by Claire Prentice, and this is a story of the doctor who did most of the lobotomies in the US in asylums. And it talks about who he is, where he came from, and kind of his summer of lobotomies, and the lobotomy van, where he literally just like drove around in this van across the country and did like hundreds and hundreds of lobotomies. And you learn a lot about like the social state at the time, and you learn a lot about like the West Virginia government. A majority of these lobotomies took place in West Virginia, kind of how he pitched lobotomies to state institutions as a way to you know, help save them monetarily. You won't have to have so many people in here. You'll be able to cure them and send them home and stuff like that. And then seeing the ramifications of that and seeing everything that happened after the lobotomies, and watching this man's ascent into madness, trying to make lobotomy the main treatment for mental health, even when it wasn't working, and even when people was telling him it wasn't working. And it was really interesting. It was written as if you were hearing his story. So it wasn't written as nonfiction, but like it's nonfiction. So this was really interesting. It was really short. So if you're interested in lobotomies or asylums or the state of mental health in the early 1900s, then it's kind of a niche audience, I guess. Maybe it has a niche audience, but I really, really liked this one, and I liked the writing style, and I do have a couple more Claire Prentice books saved on my Kindle Unlimited. And then the last book that I read, and also my favorite of the month, is The Intern by Michelle Campbell. I got this as an advanced listener copy from Libro.fm, so thank you so much for that. And then after I downloaded it, I saw that it was a book of the month pick. So I didn't actually get the physical copy, but now I kind of wish I did because I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. So this book is essentially the TV show How to Get Away with Murder, but instead of like law students studying to be lawyers, it's law students studying to be judges and working with a judge. So this girl applies for this internship with this judge that she has always looked up to and always really wanted to work for. But she's torn because this judge is also the judge trying the case of her brother who was arrested for doing drugs, or rather dealing drugs, I guess. And he claims that he didn't do it. He claims he did not deal the drugs and that the system is corrupt and crooked and that he's being framed. So then his sister decides to kind of infiltrate and go into this internship to try and figure out what's going on and figure out, is this judge that she looks up to crooked? Are the cops crooked? And it just kind of goes from there. And so if you like the show How to Get Away with Murder, I think you would like this, and I really like that show. So it's kind of cool to see that like inner part, and it definitely makes you think like who in our justice system is corrupt like that, if any. And you have the point of view also of the judge and kind of how she got to where she is and all of the scheming that goes on behind the scenes. And it was just really good. I don't know that I'm pitching it very well, but okay, that's all the books I read in October. My goal was to try and keep this short and sweet. I feel like sometimes my wrap-ups tend to be a little bit long-winded, so I wanted to keep this nice, short, sweet, to the point, and in an order that made sense. Because sometimes I just kind of go out of order and just talk about books as I read them, and so I'm trying to make them more condensed and in an order that makes sense. I'm rambling now, but thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments below what was your favorite book that you read in October. Also, let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. It really helps out my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.